Hey everybody, it's Jen Budd, former senior patrol agent with the United States Border Patrol, and I want to talk to you today about a group called Humane Borders. I got this bling from volunteering with them a couple of weeks ago. I was in Arizona in the Sonoran Desert, and I was invited to volunteer with them. Mo Goldman, who's an immigration attorney, a great immigration attorney, if you ever need one, he's in Tucson. He went with me. We're good buddies. And we got to see a couple of the barrels, or probably about 4 or 5 different barrels, that Humane Borders maintains in the Sonoran Desert, southern Arizona area. They have a couple dozen barrels. They're 55 gallon barrels, and they outfit them with a lock so they're not tampered with, and then they test the water each time they go out. These are placed in strategic areas where they've been needed. The Border Patrol, obviously, they know about them. They've been doing this for over 25 years. It is a faith-based organization that is run by volunteers, donations, and I want to tell you something that many people won't tell you. These barrels save not just people who are migrants. They have saved hikers that come out to hike the Sonoran Desert on vacation and so forth. And they have even saved Border Patrol agents' lives. So the leader of this organization, her name is Lori Kentillo. When we were sitting there talking, she's telling me about what they're doing and everything. Here you're going to see we're standing around one of the barrels and so forth. One of the things they also do is they make sure they put a 30-foot flag with a blue flag on top of it, blue for water, so that if you're in the area and you can see that, then maybe you can get to it. Unfortunately, a lot of times people die pretty close to these barrels and they don't even know how close they are because, as you can imagine, it's quite rugged and difficult to see when you're traversing these different little areas and so forth. So I got to go out to the Ross Mine barrel, and I was so proud. I'm going to show you this video. I was so proud because that is my barrel. This book, my book, helped pay for that. And so I have adopted that barrel for a year, and they have all the money they need to test my barrel and to make sure it stays full of water, and it will save anybody's life who needs it.
This is a 55-gallon tank, right? And this tank was put here by Humane Borders, and I'm going to taste the water after it's been tested. You were talking, Jen, about the fact that these water tanks not only help migrants, but they can also help anybody in the desert, including Border Patrol. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they have helped Border Patrol. I have heard about this in the past where Border Patrol agents have had to stop and use the water, and hikers have had to stop and have this water. So you all are not just saving migrants' lives, you're saving agents' lives, and you're saving, citizens' lives, or maybe tourists that come out to hike the desert and things like that. So, you come out here on your own, but thankfully you all are out here giving of your time and volunteering and raising the money and stuff to save people's lives. And this does more to save lives than all the stuff that we're doing down on the border, which is killing people. So,
And we're at the Ross Mine tank, which is a little north of Sasabe.
okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
just
And
to
this
put
is
some
my
perspective.
water because I ended up supporting this tank for a year, and hopefully we'll be able to do it the next year. And so they don't have to worry about the money for this tank. They have a year's worth of money for water to save lives. So, thank you. Thank you. And I just can't tell you how proud that makes me as a former agent, as somebody who came into the agency when deterrence policy started and has seen how much killing that we have done with our policies, and the types of people who die out there. I know so many of you think that it's some dangerous looking drug smuggler or this or that. No, it's also a lot of women and children. It's also a lot of men who are fathers carrying their children and things like that. And quite frankly, Border Patrol agents have died out there because of the lack of water. I have hiked so far as a young agent where I thought I was going to die, where I needed to have an IV just to pick me back up and make sure I didn't have any problems. And I want to say too that as a former agent who has a lot of experience with, unfortunately, discovering the results of our so called immigration system, where we send them out to the most dangerous areas to cross and they dehydrate or they freeze to death or they fall off a cliff or they get caught in a train or whatever happens to them. I am very thankful for people like Humane Borders and Lori Cantillo and her staff of volunteers who go out there regularly and maintain these barrels. I think these barrels do more to save lives than anything I ever did as an agent. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not trying to exaggerate this. This is very important work, and this is not being done by the Border Patrol. One of the things I noticed hanging above the tree of my barrel is a rosary, and it's a white rosary. The cross is a little broken off. I'll show you the picture. And it just so happens that the day before I was in Nogales, Sonora, Mexico for a few days, talking and visiting with people there. And I had met a man from Central America. I want to say he was Honduran, but I'm not 100% sure. He's an indigenous man who was kind of like, they didn't say really a priest, but kind of like I would say a shaman. And he's wearing very traditional clothes. Him and his daughter did this ceremony to help with trauma and to help with a blessing and all this other stuff. And they asked if they could do this blessing for me and other people that I was with. And so we did that. And I ended up with two strings that he blessed and then tied around each wrist. Part of that's a problem with me because, I have my hands are messed up. One of them was a little too tight. And what we were supposed to do is go to our homes and naturally let these fall off and wear out. And then when they do, from showering and whatnot, then you place them under a tree or something in your yard, and that's supposed to help continue the blessing. When I saw this rosary, it just it takes me back. It takes me back to being an agent and finding them expired. A lot of times the groups would put a rosary in their hands and cross their hands like this on their bodies. And so then the rigor mortis sets in and they stay like that for quite a while. But there always seemed to be a rosary that was left behind. Now, I'm not a religious person, but obviously a lot of the people around me who work around me are, and I respect that, regardless, whatever their religion is. And quite frankly, when I go out and I do these things, it sends me back PTSD and a lot of memories and so forth. And so as I'm doing this, as I'm driving down, or somebody's driving me down these roads usually because my hands don't allow me to drive when the steering wheel's jerking like that on that kind of road. And they were driving me this time. And it just in my mind I get these like flashbacks, you know. And they're very intrusive, quite honestly. And one of the ways I deal with it is I talk a lot. I'm trying to talk and get my mind from seeing those things. So I'm talking about my experiences, everyone's talking about theirs, or we're, this and that. But when I saw this cross, this rosary hanging there, it just took my breath away. Because it took me back to those memories. And this is a thank you. This is the way that migrants say thank you. So that rosary is put there by somebody who needed water from that barrel. It probably saved somebody's life. And instead of keeping that with them, they chose to leave that at the barrel. And it just is so touching, and it's just devastating at the same time. I hope they made it. And so I decided to take one of the bands off, the one that was really hurting my wrist. And I had to bite it, pull it. And I popped it. And then I'll show you pictures of me trying to tie it. I have a really hard time with uh, fine motor skills. So like I can't play You can see my guitar down there. I can't play my guitar anymore and stuff like that. It took me a while to tie it, but I got it on there. I wanted to get it on there and tied tight so it would stay with them because I felt like I wanted to leave something behind at this mine, you know. And I just felt that although I was going against what the shaman had recommended, I kind of feel like, and I don't know him, but I hope that he would feel like this was a just and honorable thing to do. And so I decided to leave that behind, tied to the rosary. And it was just very emotional for me. Humane Borders, you visit their website, and I'll put it up here. You visit their website. They also have the migrant death maps. Um, these only represent the people that we've found. And I think right now in the Sonoran Desert, they have well over 4,000 people. But I imagine that the numbers is quite a bit greater because we don't find the majority of them. And the desert takes their bodies away quite fast. No matter what you hear from the United States Border Patrol and from the press, these people save lives. These people save more lives than the Border Patrol does. And they don't film themselves and they don't ask for awards. They don't ask to be called heroes. They just get out there and do it. And so I want to say thank you to Humane Borders. And I want to encourage everybody, if you can, to go volunteer with them and see what their work is all about. They could always use volunteers to help. And if you do, please tell them that you heard about them through me. And I think it's when you really get out there. I think what Mo found most interesting, he was telling me, was because he sits in an office and people come to him, and he hears their stories, but he's not really out there experiencing it. And he really saw what these people are having to traverse. And then we walked around the area, and he was just in tennis shoes. All of the rest of us were in some kind of boots because we knew better. But he was just in tennis shoes, and I think he started to get a feeling of, yeah, this can kill you really quick. And this is what our immigration policy is. We're going to meet her at the ports and close down the asylum system and force you to come out here to this obstacle of death, is what I call it. And if you can make it through, then you have to live your life secretly and quietly. So, underground, so nobody knows you're here because you're undocumented. When you come down here and you start to see what families are willing to go through, and you see the bodies, it's a completely different experience. It's a completely different experience. And I recommend that everybody go and volunteer with Humane Borders. And if you can't, you can donate to them. And if you can do what I did and you can adopt a barrel for a year. And that will ensure that then they don't have to worry about where they're going to get that money to keep that barrel going. Part of what has happened with the Border Patrol Union going out and spreading a lot of these false rumors and videos that organizations that do this are somehow smuggling or something like that. They're not, or encouraging illegal crossing. Now, these people are already well into the United States. And like I said, it saves agents' lives as well. What they end up doing is the Border Patrol Union, and the Border Patrol's been working with militias since the 90s, and they go around and destroy these barrels. And they let the water they either contaminate it or they drill in the barrels and let it, going onto the desert floor. And all I can think about is some child or some family finding that barrel at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in 120-degree temperature. Some militia leader or Border Patrol agent has damaged it. That's the real crime right there. You're killing people when you do that. How would you feel if a Border Patrol agent was hiking after a group and passed that barrel and was like, you know what? I need some water too. My camelback's almost out. I'm going to fill up with water. And you contaminated it. How would you feel if you destroyed all that water and there's a Border Patrol agent there needing it. If you get a chance to go to southern Arizona, look up Humane Borders and give them a little bit of a shout out, give them a little bit of a visit for saving lives, because that's what it's all about.